Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. I hope that you've been enjoying these early days of September, which have been, in my view, fantastic days for hosting a glass or two of craft beer. Today has been a day over at Grey Lakes. Today we're recording this. It is September 12th. We've had the crew from the Granite Brewery in. We're brewing Devil's Pale Ale 666. And our friend Mare from Granite, who you heard here on an earlier episode of Between Two Fermenters, it's her favorite beer in the world. So we invited her and her team to come over to Grey Lakes. And while we're recording this today, they're over there doing grain out. So, had a couple beers today. It's been a good day, but on the pod, I'm welcoming my good friend, Jeff Talmey. Jeff is one of the founders of Town Brewery and the very bustling metropolis known as Whitby, Ontario. Town was founded in 2017 with a simple goal in mind, and I quote, to make better beer and build a stronger community, something that they've done a great job with since opening their doors. The beer is great, the space is awesome, and they do some wonderful work right in their own backyard. Jeff is also chair of the education committee for the upcoming Ontario Craft Brewers Conference, much to my pleasure as I get a year off, and we're going to talk about that. He, and along with some other brewery folk, are putting together one hell of a conference, one that will be a conference to remember. Great Lakes has had the pleasure of working with Jeff and his crew on a number of projects over the years and developed a genuine relationship between staff members. And while we may know each other, I will admit that I'm not that savvy on the history and background for both Jeff and Town Brewery. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and we have a lot to cover, and he looks ready to go in the hot seat. But again, ding, 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 my alarm is going off, signaling the hour has struck. Canuck o'clock. It's time for a Canuck Pale Ale. Hang tight. We'll be right back with Jeff Talmey, the co-founder of Town Brewery.
There appears to be only one line on this sheet. $50 for a case of Great Lakes Premium Lager. That's it? That's the ad? Okay. Cases of Great Lakes Premium Lager are only $50 every day of the year.
Well, hello there, Mr. Jeff.
Hello there.
Great to have you here in a glorious Etobicoke. Welcome to Between Two Fermenters.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Always a nice a nice thing to get to spend some time with you.
And you know what? I brought you a beer. It's
Thank
sitting
you.
right in front of you.
Oh, fantastic. I just saw that.
I hope you crack it.
Well,
while this episode is brought to you by Canuck Pale Ale, you are having a Sunnyside Session IPA. And let me tell you, those are the last cans because it is September, which means we are done with Sunnyside for the year. So what's the date code on that?
Yeah, whenever someone says that, I got to check the date code, but this is only 3 weeks old. 4 weeks old. I don't know how to tell time.
It's not that 4 weeks old. No.
From August.
He's just doing that to fuck with us. Okay. I love
it's fantastic, though.
I love that we were able to make this happen. It's great to see you again. How are things?
Things are good, man.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here. Like I said, I always like to spend time with you, Troy, as much as that might be hard for a lot of our viewers or listeners to believe.
Funny guy.
But no, yeah, I'm excited. It's great. I always like coming out to GLB. GLB was one of the first craft breweries that really got me going into craft beer. So holds a close place in my heart.
And how was the drive on the 401?
The drive was fine. I'm dreading the drive home.
I'm going to keep you in the hot seat.
That's why I've got the sunny side as well, because I've got probably about a 2.5 to 3 hour traffic drive home.
Oh, the things
that's okay.
The things we love about living in a big city.
I'm excited. Just happy to be here.
Okay, well, before we get into all things Town Brewery, this isn't your first rodeo in beer, as in town. Where did you get your start, and how did you end up in the industry?
Yeah, so funny story. I don't know if it's that funny, actually. But anyways, I lived out in New Brunswick for a little while. I've been in sales forever. And when I moved back from New Brunswick, we went to visit some friends of ours, me and my now wife. And we went to visit Court and Kristen, who are part owners in the neighborhood group in Guelph. The Woolly Pub, the greatest pub on earth. And I saw a business card for a Mill Street sales manager sitting on Court's table or ledge or something. And it said, Court, I've been in sales for all my life, and I would really like to be in craft beer sales. I love beer. I love talking about beer. I think I can do a good job. Can I reach out to this guy? So he said, yeah, it's fine. He might not answer you, but go ahead. And the rest is history. I reached out to him. I got my first job in beer with Mill Street as a sales rep. Worked there for a little while, left right before they got bought out. And then I went to work for Wirtz Beverage, who represents Diageo. So I was selling Guinness and a bunch of spirits, a bunch of scotches. I really tried to get into scotch at the time, but I just couldn't.
Really fucks you up when you drink it like beer, right?
Well, yeah, I just like, there's something just about scotch. I really like, I was getting free bottles of scotch sent home as samples, and I was like actively attempting to like it, and I just couldn't like it. I like bourbon now, but I think it's that smoke flavor just doesn't sit on the palate for me very well. But yeah, so I worked for Mill Street for a number of years, and I worked repping Guinness and some spirits for a little while, and then yeah.
Who was it at Mill Street that you reached out to? Do you remember?
His name was Dave Mitchell.
Dave Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay.
A local legend.
A local guy in the beer community.
And then I talked to Greg Olson. Worked for Ross Muir. Yeah, it was a fun time there.
Yeah, that's one thing about Mill Street is there are a lot of people that went through Mill Street have gone on to, just like Steam Whistle in Upper Canada, Great Lakes now. A lot of people have come into that those businesses and have grown up through the ranks and then moved on to either create their own or have moved on to other breweries too.
Big time.
Yeah. So you started with Mill Street, and I mentioned at the top of the show the town was established in 2017. I don't know the backstory. I know some of the people involved, but I don't really know the backstory. So how did it come to be?
So my business partner and co-founder, James Hobbs, who we currently still own the brewery together, is myself, James, and we call him Uncle Keith, but Keith. It's three of us that own town, and it all started, I was working for Guinness at the time, not for Mill Street anymore, but I met James because James owned the Tap and Tankard in Whitby, and they were, when I was working for Mill Street, our best customer, or my best customer, not our best customer, but so James and I worked on a bunch of events together. We started the Durham Beer Runners. We did a lot of stuff, and we became just buddies, just through beer. Mm-hmm. And then when I left, went to work for Guinness, we kept in touch. We were still buddies, obviously. And one day he called me and he's like, hey, I'm really excited. I'm going to look at a building in Lindsay. I'm like, oh, that's cool. What are you looking at a building in Lindsay for? He's like, I'm going to open a brewery. I'm like, oh, that sounds like my dream. That sounds amazing. Like, fantastic, man. Good luck. He's like, yeah, but I won't do it unless you do it with me. And I'm like, I don't know if you've
That's a sales pitch.
I don't know if you've seen my bank statement lately, but I don't know what I can bring to the table. Like, we'll figure all that stuff out. I just, I'm going to go look at it. And if I like it, I want you to come look at it as well. So anyways, long story short or long story long, the building was really cool. I went and looked at it with him. And then we brought a contractor, and he's like, unless you guys have like millions and millions of dollars to turn this building into a brewery, it's not going to happen. So we pivoted. We still really liked the idea of owning a brewery. So we pivoted. We looked around, and said contractor actually had some space in Whitby, which is where the brewery is currently located. Okay. So he showed it to us. We picked it up, and we just like, I don't know, it just never seemed like that crazy of an idea or that far-fetched. I feel like we just kind of were so kind of dumb.
But you wanted it. You wanted it bad.
Yeah, but we just like had no idea how to do it or what it was going to take, but we just like knew that we would do it, whatever it was. We got our other partner, Keith, on board, who's a sound financial person, which helped a lot.
But you managed to convince him.
And yeah, we convinced him, and it was all just kind of about the passion, and that would kind of push us through. And yeah, it took us. We signed a lease for the property in August of 2016, and we were open by November of 2017.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to hear about the early days. So you mentioned you had no idea what it was actually going to be, and you had the passion for, you wanted to be a brewery, you wanted to open a brewery. Did you have all your shit together from day one? Or when you signed that lease in 2016, were there struggles happening behind the scenes, but you put on a smiley face?
We signed the lease without really anything. We didn't have like a purchase order for brewing equipment. Like we didn't really have anything. We just saw, okay, this is the space, and now, here's the timeline of events that we need to hit, and here's how we need to make it work. And our goal is to open by May 24, which obviously was insane. And we ended up opening in November. So we hit a lot of kind of snags along the way, but I mean, it's just mistakes that you make because you have no idea what you're doing. That's why, like, we had a lot of help too. Like we reached out to breweries. Like I was a sales guy. So, I mean, I'm really not afraid to annoy you at the end of the day if it's going to, end up in me getting some answers or a relationship being built. So I was pretty annoying to some, at the time existing brewery owners and kind of harassing them to, can I come and see you? Can I ask questions? And there was a lot of breweries that did a really great job, or not did a really great job, but were very kind of open to
door.
Like, hey, come by. And I remember we went to Halo at the time, and the guy's like, yeah, come in. We can chat, no problem. And we went in, and he was labeling bottles at like 6 p.m. on a Friday. In the back, and he's like, yeah, just talk to me while I finish up labeling these bottles. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. So this is kind of what.
And owning a brewery is like, oh my God. Yeah. It's not a 9 to 5.
Exactly. So we had a lot of help, and which is why now, like whenever we get anybody who's, can I come by and talk to you? We're like, yes, I would love, there's so many things that we screwed up that we can help you to avoid. Because all it takes is just knowing what to expect.
And that's great that you do that as well too, and you recognize that there was others that helped you, and now you're helping 2017. So it's going to be a couple of years until you hit 10. But you guys have grown into that a brewery or that organization that people know that they can come to, and you're an active member of the industry, which we'll talk about the Ontario Craft Brewers soon. But awesome people, and people like you can make or break a company. Tell me about your team from day one and where they are now and how they've helped build town.
We have the only reason that we exist now is because of like the people that we've hired over the years. If it was just me and James and Keith, although like we come from very varied backgrounds. James always been in hospitality, I've always been in sales, and Keith's always been in finance. It's like kind of a good combo for opening up a brewery.
Starts like the start of a joke too. Yeah.
3 guys walk into a bar. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if it was just 3 of us, we'd already be done. It would already be closed. We've got so many great staff that have come on. Travis, our sales and marketing manager, he's been there since day one. Legit just like reached out to me. I was like, hey, I heard you're opening a brewery in Whitby. I recently moved back from Toronto. I just like, can we get together for coffee? I'd like to see how I can get involved. And so we went out for a coffee. I was like, dude, you're way overqualified for anything I have to offer you. I literally don't have any jobs. Like the jobs are me, the head brewer, and then servers. So I'm looking for servers if you want to come and serve. He's like, okay, I'll serve. So he started serving, and then 2 weeks later he was doing sales, and then it's just gone on, and now he's our sales and marketing manager, and he does so much more than that too. But everyone, man, like Mike, our head brewer, he's been around for not off and on. He left and came back, but 6 years, I think. We just have like we don't have a lot of turnover. We try and treat people well. We try to take people's opinions into consideration, and we try and like, if we didn't listen to our staff's ideas, then we wouldn't have any good ideas.
That's right.
So it's like, these are the people who have kind of pushed town forward from day one. Our team is the number one thing that's made us successful. Caitlin, who's on mat leave right now, like as our
congratulations
manager. Yeah,
congratulations,
she's like we're missing her dearly, and I know she misses us as well, but she's got a little Charlie at home she's taking care of. But yeah, I mean, everyone, Kurt is like, I don't want to just like name every single person that works at the brewery, but I feel like I should as soon as I say one name. But no, everyone, it's been huge.
And those individuals, not just the ones you named, but the whole group, play a big part in working with the community, which we share a common bond at Great Lakes with you. Why is that a big part of what town stands for and does?
Yeah, it's always since day one was like on James and I have like it's funny, he still has a notebook, but like we used to meet at the Coffee Culture and Whitby before any of this was like an actual thing and just talk about it and write things down. And like from day one, the goal of the business was to have a business that wasn't just like financially like that.
It just wasn't Keith saying you got to do this.
And actually he's the best. He's like, he sometimes reminds us like, hey guys, like we're out here to be a business that gives back and we're out here to do things that are right for the community. And so we all share that genuine, like that genuine kind of like, what's the word?
Philanthropy or not
even philanthropy, but just like the general like belief that we should do more than just sell people a product and take their money. I think like at the end of the day, even if you didn't believe it, which I think there's a lot of businesses out there that don't, but still do it. And they do it for the fact that it's good business, is one thing, but I think we generally just all believe it and hold that as one of our kind of core values. And it's always been the thing. It's like we also don't want to run a business that isn't successful as a business because then it won't last. So it's really balancing those things. Like, okay, we need to run a business that essentially at least breaks even and doesn't lose money so that it can continue to exist.
And to help out with the community.
And in continuing to exist, it can continue to help with...
That's that balance where it seems like craft breweries have got themselves into almost a jam where everyone gives back to the community. It's what we were built on. It's what helped build the companies. But it's like you can't give to everyone.
For sure.
But you pick and choose. And I got to commend you on the latest community activation that you did, the screening. So maybe talk about that at the pump house, which we'll talk about the pump house later. But it was a cervical...
Yeah. And I mean, that was like it was a cervical cancer screening pop-up, which sounds like the craziest thing ever. But it's through, these relationships that we've started with Lakeridge Health, who's like runs all the hospitals in Durham region. We've done collab beers with them. We've supported their events before. And then they reached out to us. They're like, we have a literal cervical cancer pop-up screening trailer that we take around to different events. Would you guys be open to us like screening for cervical cancer in the parking lot of the pump house? And as crazy as that sounds, we're like, yeah, absolutely. Like that sounds fantastic. They're like, we probably shouldn't give away alcoholic beers after this, but maybe we can we have our non-alcoholic lager. We have our non-alcoholic IPA. Maybe everyone who comes in to try and get more people to come in and try to make this thing a success, we'll give each person a ticket for a non-alcoholic beer afterwards at the pump house. So
and how was it?
It was great.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
I had the genius idea one year that we were going to do a blood drive at Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And then everyone would get a beer after. And then someone at the brewery said within 2 seconds, like, that's probably not a good idea.
No.
They give blood and the first thing they drink is a beer. And that's So we never did do that.
No, you should probably do it maybe like a beer the next day.
Yes.
Like a post-dated beer token.
Congratulations for you guys, because I remember seeing that post, and a lot of people around the brewery were like, this is an amazing thing. And the chatter amongst the beer community, not just the consumers, but industry people, the chatter was, that's really good on town to do something like that.
Well, the thing is, like, we can't take credit for it. We can take credit that we promoted it. We can take credit that we supported it. But at the same time, it's like, it's through these relationships that we've built.
But it's the relationships you've built.
Yeah, and they come to us, and they come to us sometimes with ideas. Sometimes we go to community organizations with ideas, but we're always down. Like, we always say yes.
They felt comfortable going to you guys.
100%.
Yes, so.
100%.
Now, let's talk about some of the beers that you guys do, which you brought a couple. I'm going to have one here shortly, but tell me about your core brands at town, and how did you settle on those ones as your core brands? And so for anyone listening who's unsure, core brands, we just refer to them in the industry as the year-round brands.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we have our number one beer is Square Wheels. Square Wheels are New England-style hazy IPA. We've actually been making this beer longer than any beer that we've been making. We've been making it since almost we opened. It has lived in different iterations. It's certain things have been changed over time, but I mean, it hasn't had anything too drastic. The idea of that beer has always been the same, and that's to have a big New England hazy IPA that's not too crazy, that you can't just have one of, but it's the type of beer that you can drink kind of all day. every day. Not that you should drink all day and every day, but
and that's
if you
available
want
at the LCBO.
Square Wheel is available at the LCBO. We also have Outside Jokes, which is our hazy pale ale. So that's our 5% pale ale. Again, we've been brewing that beer for quite a while too. But it's just like the answer to, when you need a beer that's a little less ABV, I guess, and you can't drink Square Wheels all day, every day. And then we have Quick One, which is our German style lager.
Oh, okay.
There you
Don't
go.
mind if I do.
Quick Ones are, German style lager.
I just got wet with that one.
4.2%. And those, so I mean, we got the Quick One lager, Outside Jokes pale ale, and then Square Wheels IPA in the LCBO. And then our goal is to release a new beer every week. In the summertime, that becomes a little bit of an issue, especially this summer. But we actually, since June, have added 4 more tanks to the cellar. So,
what size?
We have 2 15s and 2 20s.
Oh, very good.
So just small batches that we can do those one-offs. We really want to try to ensure that we can release new beers all the time. I mean, it's 80 or 70 or whatever percentage of our volume is those 3 beers, the majority of it being Square Wheels. But at the end of the day, it's like, for our customers that are coming into the brewery to buy beer, who are coming in the tap room to drink beer, to the staff who, have different ideas and want to get creative, we need to make sure that we can do those. And it's just like, that's what started town. So I feel like, without that, we're missing a little piece of who we were or who we are.
So I'm looking at this Quick One lager, which I've thoroughly enjoyed since you guys started brewing it. It's a great beer. But I noticed it's wildly different from the original label. I'm looking at the other one that you brought. So you recently rebranded, and as someone like Great Lakes knows how tough it is to go through a rebrand. They've done it, 8 times over the 37 years of the existence. But I know how tough it is. I've been through 2 rebrands. People love it or people hate it.
Yes.
So let me ask you 2 questions. What prompted the rebrand? That's the first one.
Yeah.
And what has the reception been like?
So we've actually rebranded twice in 7 years, which is insane. The first one didn't last very long. It was pretty basic. But then we went to like a full abstract art label, which we liked. So just to clarify, we didn't rebrand the beer because we didn't like what we were doing. We did like it, but what we found is that it was really difficult for people who weren't like die-hard town fans to talk about our beers.
And or remember which one may have been.
They're like, oh yeah, have you tried the blue one?
Or
and
the
they're
one
like,
with the
well,
bus
there's
on
like
it.
in the last 3 months we've had 3 different abstract arts that are blue. So people are like, no. And then they come in and they're trying to, like, even with our staff, they're like, oh, I came 3 weeks ago and I bought this green one. It's like green and orange. And they're like, well, we got this. It's kind of green. It's kind of orange. So it's like, it was just becoming really confusing. The other thing, even before changing the actual art, we're like, okay, we were labeled cans and we wanted to go to a more printed can that just gave us more of kind of a canvas, especially at the LCBO with our labels. If they were like turned in a certain direction, you could be looking at the beer and there's literally nothing that you could see that would differentiate it from anything else. So we wanted to go printed can. We actually toyed with a lot of different designs that were full printed can, but based on the old abstract art kind of idea. But then when we started, like all while this was kind of going on, we were really like leaning into a lot of like really cool kind of merch designs. So we were working with different artists on merch designs. And that was one thing with our abstract art. We're like, oh, well, we're working with all these different artists. We don't just want to like not work with artists anymore. But then we started working with all these different other artists who were doing these like mascot type of designs on our merch. And our merch was getting like a really, really great response from customers. So one day we're looking and we're trying to redesign. And we're like, man, what if we just like use some of the like merch designs that we've already had made
For
that
the labels.
we already know people like Outside Jokes is the seagull holding a beer under its wing. Like that was a shirt before it was a can. So, and it was one of our fastest selling t-shirt designs. So it was like, not like, it was obviously a huge kind of leap of faith to just change it so drastically. But we did know in the backs of our heads, it's like, it's kind of a calculated risk in that our customers like these designs.
Yeah.
They haven't ever bought them on a can, but they are actively telling us they love our merch design. So it's like, okay. And then we were going through. We worked on it for like over a year, myself and Travis, and like input from all of our staff. We were getting sample cans and colors, and it was, I've probably fought with Travis more on can designs in the last year than I've fought with anybody in my entire life.
Have you made up?
We have, yeah. We always make up. Travis and I can fight. Like we can duke it out pretty good and then just forget it and have a beer, and it's great.
Well, I will say, just to cut you off, that it's more now unique to town, to me.
Yeah.
To me, because the other cans, the abstract art, you knew they were town, but you didn't know which brand it was.
Yeah.
I now see Quick One. I see a brand. I see the name is very prevalent. I see the artwork. I see lager. It ties it all together. In my opinion, it ties it all together. And I think I'm a fan, but what was the perception like when you first came out with them? Yeah,
it was just on that too, is like, we also noticed in the like general, we felt like the general feeling in the craft beer world was that flagships were really going to be more important in the future than they have been in maybe the last like 5 years. I don't know if everyone always has some way to tie COVID into every conversation, but I feel like when people were sitting at home and just buying beer online, they would want to try everything. They were willing to try everything. They didn't really have any more money to spend or anything else to spend their money on. So it was like, I may as well just try this beer I've never tried before. And now affordability is not there. People are paying more for rent and more for groceries and more for gas. And it's like, if I know that Canuck's really good and I know that Square Wheels is really good, do I have the money to like try something else that I might hate? Yeah. Like so. And we've talked about that in just our everyday, hey, how's it going? That Great Lakes made a conscious decision in 2022, 2023 to refocus back on the cores, and we had significant growth in our core brands, which allows us then to go out and invest in some more one-off ingredients and creative ideas. So. Like the one-offs never want to go, but having an actual brand to build around Square Wheels, Quick One, Outside Jokes, Super Dope, our West Coast IPA that's a seasonal. It's like having a more of a brand rather than just a picture. That was really all that it was. Described to me Square Wheels. It's like, it's this like crazy blue and yellow abstract art. You're like, okay, well, how do I connect with that as a person? So anyways, that was no one offense, of the big... Like I remember the bus. I can remember. I remember the bus one. We got sued for that. We forgot to take the name of the bus company. Laidlaw or whatever. No, it was another one. Okay, but I don't remember the beer that was in that can. Totally, yeah. And that's the thing. So it's easier to kind of build brands this way. And the reception has been really positive. Good. Right off the get-go, somebody tried to call us out and say like, you're it was on social media, so it's ridiculous. But they're like, I see that you're just marketing to middle-aged white men now. And we're like, I don't know how that's possible from seeing one can. We've got all types of colors, all types of designs. Can I give you some advice? That one person that did that, you better change your whole... Yeah, totally. No, but it's been good. People have also been like, I miss the art. Yeah. And we agree. We're like, we loved the art. But we just felt as though this was like a necessary. Yeah, I think you're bringing your brand to life now. Totally, it's town. Now I got to be controversial for 1 second. I have to be. You have a seagull on your can. What do you think of another brewery that just came out with a beer that has a seagull on it? Is it you? And it's not us. If it's you, I don't care. I gotta tell you, it's an illustration of a seagull as well too. So who is it? Maybe we'll talk afterwards about this. But I'm fine with I just saw it and I was like, as long as it doesn't look like our seagull. Okay. I'm just kidding. We have a couple more things to go through before we get to the rapid fire. And I want to talk about Pump House for a second. Yeah. So we mentioned it earlier on the shores of Lake Ontario. Yes. You worked with the city to create something special for tourists, but the town would be mad if I didn't correct you. The town of Whitby. The town of Whitby. The town of Whitby. But I'm going to say, okay. So you created something special for tourists in Durham residents, the Pump House. I would bet money that you put more work into that than the city of Whitby did. Yes. No offense to the city of Whitby, but this was Jeff's idea. This was Jeff's thing. What's the deal? Give us the Coles notes.
In the sidebar, we have no Coles notes today, but give us the Coles notes on the pump house.
Yeah, so the pump house is a historic building that has sat on the shores of Lake Ontario in Whitby for, I think it was built in the 1910s and the 1920s. Yeah. So the building actually pumped water out of Lake Ontario into the town of Whitby for decades. It no longer did that as of the 70s, I believe. And has been a vacant piece of property since 1984.
It's just 4 walls too, right?
Yeah. So over the last 35 to 40 years, it's just kind of become this dilapidated building. There's no roof, there's no windows. It's just the 4 brick walls that still stand. And it's just always kind of been fenced in by construction fences and it's just this kind of it was almost like an eyesore, but you could tell going in and when we were looking for a new location for the brewery, the town of Whitby was like, you should look at the pump house. It's right on the lake, this and that. We can't
that would be a small brewery.
We can't sell you the property, but we could maybe figure something out to have a brewery down there. So I went down there to look at it. I'm like, this is, again, first and foremost, too small. But again, it's probably one of the most beautiful views that you can have in Durham region. Looking out onto Lake Ontario, you can see the Toronto skyline. You can see the Whitby Pier with the lighthouse. It's it's a very, very cool spot. And what a lot of people I'm realizing don't know about a brewery is 80% of the brewery is a factory. 20% of the brewery is maybe a tap room or whatever. So for us to build a 7,000 square foot structure down there and cover 5,000 square feet of it with a factory, it's it doesn't even make sense. Every square foot of that place should be customer, a customer should be able to enjoy a beer. So we said no, it didn't really make a lot of sense. But then in thinking about it more, we're like, man, this is already sick. We don't need to do anything here. What if? And it was inspired by a trip to Boston. And I went to the Trillium Beer Garden on the Greenway, which is fence, picnic tables, trailer, porta potties, in the middle of downtown Boston. It might not be downtown Boston. I don't know Boston geographically all that well, but it's down there.
It inspired you.
But while I was there, I'm like, man, this is insane. And we actually were super lucky. We just stumbled across it. We need Trillium, but we stumbled across this beer garden on the Greenway, and we got there at 11 in the morning. Oh, sweet. Let's go in. They're just opening. And by 12, there was 100 people waiting in line and the entire place was full. So I'm like, sending pictures and ideas and to the town, and the town was very supportive, especially, the mayor, Liz Roy, Matt Gaskell, who's, the CAO, and they were super instrumental in helping us to create this thing. It cost us a lot of money and a lot of time and turning it into something that we were it wasn't perfect by any means. But we wanted to turn it into something that we could really be proud of.
And it's a great spot to go in Whitby on the shores of Lake Ontario to have a beer.
Totally. Drink beer. There's a food truck down there now serving pizza. We've got cocktails. We've got wine. It's open Wednesday through Sunday. Non-alcoholic stuff. Yeah. I take my kids down there and I'm like, all right, the beach, it's literally 20 feet from the beach. And I'm like, okay, you don't go past that tree. Yeah. And you don't go past that tree. You stay anywhere in the middle, and they just dig holes.
And Dad's gonna have some beers.
Exactly. One real beer and a couple non-alcs.
We were there for the collab a couple of years ago, where we did the secret special agent beer.
Yes,
or we did that at Great Lakes, but Lockbox.
Yeah.
But when we were there at town, we went down. You showed us the pump house before it opened.
Yeah,
and it was one of those places where you're like, oh, this would be great right now if it was open, just to sit here all day.
Oh yeah,
and just drink cold beer from cans. Yeah,
I know.
Social media. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about your social media. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all in front of you. I think town has a tremendous presence on social. Everything looks so great and everything looks so polished. The pictures, the videos. You made me look good when we did a video there a couple years ago. It's terrific. Talk about the team behind it and how they or you or whoever goes about setting that strategy, because I think when I look at Ontario beer, I look at there's a number of breweries that do fantastic job on social. I think you guys are one of them, and I just love what you're doing. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you. That's always good to hear. Over the last couple of years, we've worked with a few different like content creators. Currently, right now, we have, for the first time kind of ever, we have a guy in-house.
Oh, good.
His name's Matt. He's it's like just like anyone at town. He started as a server, then he was a brewer, and now he's our marketing coordinator. We worked with a local company called North Brothers. They're great. We've worked on and off with them for like 3 years. They do a lot of our video and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But Matt's our like core photographer, and then Travis, again, coming back to Travis is very meticulous. Mm-hmm. He has an extremely high standard for what we'll post on social media and how we go about posting it, how we're presented. I think it's obviously like super important. I would say like big ups obviously to Matt and Travis. And they're the ones that really like, we're just super picky. And like, even when Matt came on, we're like, just so you know, we're going to tell you many, many times, this picture's not good enough. And you can't get mad, and you can't be upset. Like, cause the only reason we're telling you that is cause it's just not.
So as a co-founder, are you still getting in the involved in a post?
Yeah, not a post, but okay. Travis does that. But I mean, I do like, I have a fairly, I wouldn't say active role. I have a fairly active opinion.
Okay.
In that kind of stuff. And it's important.
Yeah. For sure.
But I mean, Travis and I are fairly aligned, and Matt does a great job. And you know, it's just like I said, it's just a high standard, and you only have, in a lot of instances, you only have that one first interaction with a new customer online, and it has to be.
So you get your staff involved. They pose for pictures, they do videos, which is great because they believe in the brand. So could you provide any tips to new breweries that are trying to explore the world of social while using that as their main marketing tool?
Yeah, I think like, tips is just like anything. I think you just have to be sincere. In what you're doing.
I was trying to get you to say authentic.
Authentic.
You got to drink when you say authentic. Yeah.
But it's like, if you believe in something, it'll show. If you don't, it'll also show. Yeah. So like focus on the things that you really believe in, and like listen to the people that are around you. Cause my experiences with social media are not as good as the 25-year-old that just started working for us and has all kinds of fresh ideas and hasn't been, in the beer industry for the last 10 years and thinks this is dumb and that's dumb and whatever. Right. So it's like, you need to listen to the people around you. The things that I care about are not what, all of our customers and all of our staff cares about. It's everybody's different. You need just so many opinions and ideas that kind of filter in, but they all have to be presented in one voice. You can't be confusing to the customers and the people who are following you.
That is great advice.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense for sure. Yeah. Be authentic. Ontario Craft Brewers Conference. Thank you. I'm going to shake your hand right now on air.
You're getting it back next year, so I don't know why you're thanking me now.
Thank you for coming on board for the annual OCB conference and chairing the education committee. Everyone, a round of applause for Jeff. Yeah, thank you.
Sweet.
If I haven't, I owe you a big hug, and we're going to do that. How is the planning coming along for the conference?
It's coming along great. It's all of a sudden became a lot less stressful. I think that's just because the summer ended.
Yeah.
And things are starting to piece together, but no, I'm just like, I'm happy to be a part of it. I think that the Ontario Craft Brewers Conference is like an event that all brewers in Ontario should look at as something that they
members or not
that they want to go to. And if they don't feel like they want to go to it, then we need to do something to make them feel like they want to go to it, or there's some benefit to it. We talk a lot when we're planning out the education sessions on what will be valuable. We want to make sure that we're bringing value in terms of educational seminars for people who are coming. Trying to focus on quality over quantity, but it seems as though we're getting both now. There's a lot of sessions and a lot of good people. But you know what? It's like people want to hear from their peers. The toughest part about the whole thing is that everybody in this industry that I talk to on like a regular basis is an expert, but no one wants to come across as they think that they know better than anyone. So they don't want to like actually go out.
Well, that's like me asking you about community or me asking you about social media. Any tips? You're like,
everyone's got that imposter syndrome, right? They don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm the expert. Let me like tell everybody how it is, where they probably are qualified to do so. But so we focused on getting a lot of panels, like getting a lot of groups of people together. People are a lot more comfortable when they're sitting on a panel with 3 of their peers who maybe they're buddies with, or maybe they've worked with, and they have a lot of kind of insight. But really, yeah, it's just like if people can find value in the conference from an educational standpoint, if people can find value from the conference from a social standpoint, which I think is like maybe as important as the education component, then people are going to want to go, right? And the more people that go, the better it'll get, and the better it'll get, the more people want to go. And it's just a cyclical thing that I just would like to be a part of, increasing.
And shout out to James Earl Jones, The Circle of Life was what you were trying to say, but, rest in peace. Why? I got to ask you, because I want to hear the answer. I don't know if I've heard it before. Why did you feel the need to get involved in taking on something like this? Like, why did you want to come on board and chair an education?
I didn't, first and foremost.
No, yes, yes, you did.
I was told. No, the reason I'm just kind of willing to. I just became a member of the OCB in the last couple of years, and in joining, I said, well, if I'm going to be a part of this, I may as well try and help. And if I'm not going to help, then I can't complain. And I think that I had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years with, especially in the last year, with a lot of brewery owners who are like legitimately worried about the future of craft beer. And if you're worried about the future of craft beer and your entire life savings are riding on the future of craft beer, I don't think there's a good case to sit back and see what happens.
Pull up your socks.
If there's an opportunity to try and help, and we're not single-handedly saving it, but if there's a way that we can help out a little bit, whether it's trying to get more people on the OCB so we have a bigger voice so that we can save money in taxes, or whether it's making the OCB conference fun so that people see value in coming to that and just having a good time. If it really is an inflection point in the lifespan of craft beer in Ontario and in Canada, then we need as many people as possible to make sure that it doesn't flicker out.
Nice. And I thank you again. Now we have 2 questions from our fans, from your fans.
Fantastic.
From your fans. Mike Lackey.
Oh, Lackey.
Mike Lackey, the brewing operations manager at Great Lakes, says,
local legend.
Are you really a secret agent?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'll follow up on that. That's you have your own brewery and you don't have your own picture on a label, but Great Lakes puts you on a label.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So that's going to be a trivia question one day. Did your kids think that was pretty cool?
My kids thought that was the coolest fucking thing in the world. They were like, "You're on, but that's you, Dad, but your nose is so big." I'm like, "Look at me, guys." They're like, "But look at your ears." I'm like, "Yes, again, look at me." Yeah, it was. They loved that.
Well, that was pretty good. I remember doing that, going, shit, I don't have a. Peter has one, Lag has one. I don't have one, but Jeff has one.
The caricature, that's the good thing, is I've had caricatures done before, so I always know what's coming with it. It's the nose and the ears and the bald head.
No, we're part of the same family there. So as I said at the top of the show, Mare from Granite is at the brewery today, and she's big into fitness, and she's going to be presenting at the Ontario Craft Brewers Conference.
She is, yeah.
And she wants to know what your favorite post-run beer is.
Square Wheels. I have to admit, actually, it used to be Canuck. And not to say that I don't like Canuck anymore, but when we first started the Durham beer run at the Tap and Tankard, like I said, when me and James formed our bond around beer and became literally like friends for life now, it was a Mill Street event. So because I was a Mill Street rep, we'd do $5 Mill Street pints. Yeah. And I'd come back for the run and drink Canuck.
Yeah, probably James too. James used to love Canuck.
And then he'd charge me. He'd charge me for an organic so that I could submit the receipt.
Nice.
So Canuck used to be, but honestly, like I love all beers. I really do. But Square Wheels has this like spot in my heart. And for a long time, I didn't even drink Square Wheels. I was like all about the new one-off IPAs that we would put out. And that's all that I would take home.
And you are talking about the consumer right now.
Yes,
that
totally.
You are.
Yeah, I'm literally mirroring what
you've been saying.
What I've been saying, yeah. And I like, as much as I love Pilsners and lagers and West Coast and all of those are coming back and getting popular, I honestly just love a good hazy. I really do.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Nice. We're going to go to an ad. We're going to hear a brand new ad about the Great Lakes Brew Pub.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is our podcast, we can put whatever ad we want on there. And as soon as that's done, we're coming back with rapid fire. Have another drink. You good for this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hang tight.
Okay.
Here we go. When you hear the music, go for it.
Will do. The GLB Brew Pub. 20 taps of the finest craft beer. Amazing food like burgers, pizza, Taco Tuesday. And check the retail store for amazing GLB beer, merch, and accessories. Open 11 to 11 at 11 Lower Jarvis Street, right near Sugar Beach. We know where you're going tonight. The GLB Brew Pub. A great place to see, the best place to be.
Nailed it.
We're back with Jeff Talmey, the co-founder of Town Brewery in the bustling metropolis of Whitby, Ontario. Rapid fire questions, Jeff. Are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
What beer have you been enjoying recently?
Non-town beer.
Non-town.
This is supposed to be rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Rapid fire.
Non-town beer that I've been enjoying lately. Canuck.
Okay.
For real.
Name your celebrity doppelganger.
You know what people say I look like is that golfer. What's his name? He's married to Paulina Gretzky.
Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson.
Yeah,
DJ.
I can see it. Yeah,
I get
there you
that. If I go golfing, I legit get that on the golf course at least once.
Have you ever signed an autograph?
Never.
No, you
No.
should do that. Yeah.
You're like, you kind of look like him. He's just a little more attractive than you. I'm like, yeah, thanks, man.
We talked with Scott Simmons, the president of the Ontario Craft Brewers, and he pretended he was who was he? He was Brett Hall. He was with Ray Bork.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
he
could
signed
see
an
that.
autograph
I
for
could see
Ray
that.
Bork. Yeah. Name a person or brewery that in the industry that has inspired you or continues to inspire you.
A person or a brewery?
Either
Well,
one.
now I'm sitting with you, so I feel like Great Lakes is the first thing that pops into my mind because it was like that true first beer that I liked craft beer, but I just kind of try a bunch of different shit. But then when I had Canuck, and then Canuck became like a thing, and I really actually, without trying to toot your horn too much, Canuck was the first brand of beer that I think I identified with. I was like, I'm a Canuck guy.
And was that through Tap and Tankard?
Yeah, that would have been through the tap. It would have been through just the early days of beer Instagram and people really loving.
So
Canuck
Tap and Tankard, we used to sell a lot of beer to them. I know
time.
Mill Street sold a shit ton to them.
We
but,
still a lot of beer too.
Yeah, but back when we had some staff that work for us now who were in the technology business, but they would all go over.
And they all worked at 360.
That's
around
right.
the corner.
Yeah, that's right. And we used to sell a lot of beer, and James would say that was what he was drinking.
Big time.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Canuck, and then there was another. I mean, the first beer that I had buddies who were trying to get me to drink craft beer, trying to get me to drink and I was like, no. I'm I'm a Coors Light guy, blah blah blah. And then the one that actually changed my mind was Red Racer. And it was,
from Central City.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was like, it was so bitter that it was good, and I was like, holy shit, okay, this is interesting. And then another beer I remember was Rapture from Amsterdam.
Oh yeah,
Back in Fracture. Sorry,
Fracture. I was going to say
Fracture.
Raptures. I've never heard of that one.
No,
but Fracture for sure.
And
yeah.
that was in a bottle.
That's a double IPA, I think.
Yeah,
for
it's
them
a
here,
double West Coast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There really is truly so many good people in the Ontario craft brewing world too. You don't have to look far for inspiration and for guide. I don't know. There's so many great people.
Best time and place for a beer.
Oh man, there's so many. Best time and place for a beer.
Put yourself in the situation.
Yeah.
It's a nice day. It's a Saturday morning, 11 o'clock.
Saturday morning, 8 a.m. No, I think
the pump house, your roots are-
the one thing that I have a real tough time doing and not cracking a beer is barbecuing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say kids are playing in the backyard, wife sitting on the furniture outside, I'm barbecuing and having a beer.
And what's in her glass?
Probably water or a tea.
Okay.
Or an Aperol Spritz or a margarita.
Okay, there you go. If you could only drink one beer for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Square Wheels.
Okay, Homer.
I'd be hammered the whole time, but it would be Square Wheels. I'm sorry. I just love it.
Favorite place to grab a beer in Toronto?
Favorite place to grab a beer in Toronto? I would say it's got to be Volo. I love Volo.
Nice.
Chris, their head brewer is from Port Perry. I went to high school with him.
Oh, really? You're a Port Perry guy.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry about that.
So we I went to the Foodor Uni Festival in Dunham years ago, and I saw him there. I was like, what the? And like we just like hadn't seen each other since high school, and since then we've done a bunch of beers with them and stuff. And Volo, actually, I went to Volo on Young.
Yeah,
it was on Young, right?
Young and Wesley.
I went to Volo on
Young and Dundonald.
The day that I proposed to my wife.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Celebrated there.
You can get anyone in the chair who's been in beer a long time and talk about the old Volo and just the stories, the $4 Monday industry nights.
But the new one too is it's
so beautiful.
Funny Volo story. So we hired a guy who was he's a soccer player. He's like super nice dude. His name is Dylan. He'll never hear this because he doesn't drink beer. But we hired him as a driver. And he was super dependable driver.
That is very good.
And he was awesome. So he went to his first delivery at Volo, and he walked in and he's like, man, this place looks like Hogwarts, eh? And he said that to either Julian or Tomas. Yeah. And so we heard about that. Yeah, but he called Volo fucking Hogwarts on his first delivery there.
Nice.
And if anyone's listening who delivered beer, you can imagine how that went over.
Favorite bar in the world?
The Woolly's up there. Favorite bar in the world?
Let me just leave it at the Woolly.
Yeah, the Woolly's the best, man.
Everything.
Actually, I have a Canuck. We went to the Woolly anniversary party and I drank Canucklehead, which was Canuck on cask.
Yeah.
And got just loaded with quart.
Nice.
It was great. That was years ago, 10 years ago probably.
Best hangover cure?
Crispy lagers.
5 for 5. Last 5. Yep, last 5. Okay, last rapid fire question. Town, where is it? Where can people find it? And any last words?
Town Brewery is at 1632 Charles Street in Whitby, Ontario. But go to the Pump House from May till September. Instagram at Town Brewery, all that other stuff. Any last words? Support your local breweries.
I love it. Jeff, absolute pleasure. I was waiting for this. This is so good. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. And I feel privileged to have gone through all this with you. I learned a lot today about the history of town and yourself. And I love what you and your team have accomplished in such, 7 years. I say is such a short amount. We're 37, you're 7. But I love what you've been able to do in the 7 years. And I wish you and the team nothing but the best. And anytime you want to do another secret agent beer and put my face on the label, I'm happy to.
Well, we
come
can
to
do that
town
now.
and do
We'll
it.
make you a seagull. It'll be the third
right.
seagull beer.
I'll be
in
a
Ontario.
seagull body with a seagull body with my face on it.
I love it.
All right, Jeff. Thanks so much for coming out today.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Around the industry.
Hey, we just recorded an episode last week and released it with Steve Hukara, the Finnish Canadian with the Cans for Kids stuff at Southern Ontario Beer Boys. And we covered a lot of stuff that was happening around the industry. So it's been a week. There hasn't been that much movement out there in the industry. So I'm going to talk about GLB Beer Week. It's happening September 27th to October 5th. The premise behind this was, as some of you may know, I was one of the co-founders of Toronto Beer Week back in the day, way back in 2010. And we wanted to bring that back to Ontario, but from a GLB perspective. So we're doing 9 days of activations all across the province. We're going to have tap takeovers. We have places like Decoy in Toronto, Greater Good in Toronto, Union 613 in Ottawa, Red Lion Smokehouse in Thunder Bay. We have pub crawls in Toronto West and Toronto East. We have meet and greets. We have an Oktoberfest happening at the brewery. We have a fall festival. There is so many things happening. 9 days, a beer dinner at the Great Lakes Brew Pub, which has gone through a big menu change. So check that out. You can go to greatlakesbeer.com. You'll see the icon for GLB Beer Week. If you're listening from a faraway place like Thunder Bay, myself and Jen Reinhardt, our senior sales manager, on September 30th, we will be in Thunder Bay. We're going to do a tour of all the LCBOs, beer stores, grocery, and then we're going to do a big meet and greet and tap takeover at Red Lion Smokehouse. So if you're in Thunder Bay, you hear this, please come out on September 30th. If you're going to be in Ottawa on September 3rd, let me rephrase that, October 3rd, we're going to be at Union 613 with our friends from Dominion City. We're heading into town. We're going to do a collab with them. It could be Capitals 3.0, but we'll work that out. But we're going to be at Union 613 for a massive tap takeover meet and greet with our good friends from Dominion City. But again, go to greatlakesbeer.com, look at the GLB Beer Week icon. We will have activations from Friday, September 27th until Saturday, October 5th. Lots of things happening right across the province. And that's it. That's all, folks. Episode 18 with Mr. Jeff Talmey. The town mayor has moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Jeff, and will make a note to grab a few cans of Square Wheels. He really pumped that beer up today. Next time you stop in to the LCBO or visit him at 1632 Charles Street in Whitby. Today's episode is fueled by cans of Town. Quick one. That's what I had. And Canuck Pale Ale, and Sunnyside Session IPA. You can find Canuck and Sunnyside all over Ontario at the beer store, LCBO, select grocery stores, and online at greatlakesbeershop.ca. And I keep forgetting to add, it's available at convenience stores across the province. You can also visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke, or grab some delicious eats and fresh pours at our brew pub at 11 Lower Jarvis Street in Toronto. If you have any content you'd love to hear us discuss on the show, or just want to tell us what you're drinking, drop us a line at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter, or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.